Hi, my name is Jenny Thielen, and I decided to make a screencast-o-matic so I could explain my thoughts on the rallying cry. When I read your assignment, you stressed the importance of really talking about what is the biggest issue, the biggest problem that I had in my classroom this last year, and to focus on that. So I've really thought about what was the biggest thing that happened and what was the thing I was always working towards trying to help and the goal that I was trying to make. And it came down to students' attitudes and their behaviors. And that was a huge, huge issue this year of just getting their attitudes better and trying to help them be good learners while not being really disrespectful. So that was always a goal of mine of just, how can I help these students adjust their attitudes on school? How do I help them with their behaviors when they're fighting in the classroom, like just trying to balance that. And then when I thought about their behaviors within my own classroom, it's like you think about why were these behaviors happening? What was starting to make them act this way? Because at the beginning of the year and even moving on to the middle, we weren't having very many issues. And then it just became this thing where it's just non-stop of kiddos just arguing and mad and fighting. And I had to think about how did that start with just within my own classroom. It wasn't going on very much. And then the next thing I know, it's blowing up. And it's where did this come from? Because I have some of my sweet little babies that would never yell at me or react the way that they were doing. And it became, they were seeing these from other kids in our school of older classes that were really struggling and being incredibly disrespectful to their teacher, just kind of ricocheted throughout our whole building of just what they see when we're walking down the hallway and when they're going to recess and how kids are treating them outside reflected in our own room. And so they would come back and take their anger out of something they saw of somebody else acting that way to somebody else. So I was constantly putting out fires, trying to get kids to not be angry about something that happened outside of our classroom. But it's really hard to do when they're that angry and you're trying to help them, but they're seeing these behaviors and they copy them. I mean, they're kids, they're going to copy things. And even though they know it's not the right thing to do, sometimes it's harder than easier said than done, to be don't act that way and let's talk about why we're feeling this way. What can we do to fix it? It was a struggle. So, it's kind of, sometimes it's hard to talk about that, behavior was bad or what are things to do, but at the same time it needs to be talked about of how do you fix it then? What can you do next year to make it better? And I don't want to sound negative because I don't want it to come across as, I'm upset with these students or I'm upset with what happened, but it was a frustrating year and it was frustrating to see their behaviors, but it's also something that is always a goal of you don't want to give up on them. You want them to turn it around and you want them to be great kids. And so it's just figuring out how can we do that? What can we do? So I know you said of just focusing on my own classroom, but like I said, it's how it started in my own classroom though was because of outside things that were going on that then influenced my classroom. So then when I have to think about that of the whole school is unfortunately in a bad place with kiddos just being incredibly disrespectful and the behaviors are just off the chain. So it's what kind of team would I have to help fix this? If I was only focusing on my classroom, we did try to do the functional team, of only us second grade teachers are trying to work together of fixing this problem, but it wasn't helping. It didn't help when we would try to come together and be okay, this is what's happening in my room, it's also happening in yours. What are some strategies? What can we do? We tried all year of us coming together and being whoa, this is what's up. I need some help. Can I get some help? What can we do to diffuse this situation of how can we fix these behaviors? And it ultimately isn't helping. And so I have to think about bringing in a heavyweight team. And if magical world, if I could come up with my own team, I think heavyweight is the way to go in order to fix this massive problem that is unfortunately happening in my school. So when I'm quoting from the book here, the reason I pick heavyweight team was because it says, a school can form a heavyweight team by choosing experts from different parts of the school community. Mostly teachers and administrators, but also counselors, other staff members, and parents. So what I'm thinking of is that us as our whole school is still working together of fixing our behavior plan, but also allowing someone from the outside even if it's parents that can come in and volunteer, or it's the district, someone from outside that has the experience and knows how to form a whole new behavior system. Because right now we have a system that's in place from the district that we've been trying to, follow these steps of what every teacher is supposed to be doing in their classroom to help these behaviors. But I hate to say this because it sounds so negative, but it's not working. It's not, the kids aren't responding to it, and it's just, when you see something isn't working and it's clearly not working in every single classroom, then something needs to be done. The kids aren't learning anything if they're wandering the halls and they're yelling at teachers and they're just angry and upset. It's like they're not learning anything. So we have to help fix this whole situation. In order for any of the kids to be successful, we have to have a better behavior plan. And again, I want to stress that I'm not trying to be negative about my administration or anything like that, because I know that they're all trying to do their best too, but I just think that we need a team that could come in that could really, really help design something new. Like, again, what it says from the book is heavyweight teams are well suited for designing new processes and breakthrough changes for schools. So that would be a thing that we need. We need a new behavior plan in place that is going to help these students be successful. Because again, when I think about my own students, they were great beginning of the year, and we listened, and we were doing well in our learning, and we didn't have behavior problems. And then just walking down the hallway or going out to recess, we come back in and my kids are influenced by the things that they see out there. So then it comes back into my own classroom, and then it's like I have kids fighting that never fought before, and I have kids not wanting to listen because they saw other students that weren't listening out in the hallway, and it's like, what is happening here? This isn't a thing that we did. And so as much as I tried to contain it in my own room and help with our behaviors, it just is getting to be a big issue that needs to be addressed and something that needs to happen. When it comes to the blended learning, what are some things that could help this problem? I think that all of the teachers need to be doing some sort of blended learning in their school in order for it to be successful. In order to help with our attitudes and our behaviors, I do think blended learning would be beneficial to these kids that just have an attitude of not wanting to do the work, not being excited about it. I think that it could help them be engaged again, get them not so mad at their teachers because they have to do a written assignment, and instead they can do that online. So if we had more teachers doing rotation stations where students were able to still have face-to-face interactions, but then they got to rotate and do learning online, that would be awesome, where the kids get more excited. I know my own students get excited when they get online and they're learning from some website or something like that is teaching them some skill, and they get to do that instead, and it makes them more excited than if I were just teaching it to them every day the same way that I've been doing it. So I think that there's a lot of teachers that aren't aware of some websites online, or they just aren't wanting to branch out and try that, but I think that it would really help the students be happier, and then they wouldn't be quite so angry all the time about their learning, and maybe it could be successful. I think the idea of the flipped classroom is really neat, and I think it's a cool concept of recording something in instructional video and having the kids go home and do it online. But the problem with our specific school, I don't think that students would actually go home and watch that video and come back ready to do the assignment or whatever. So fortunately, I don't think that one would work very well. So I think I'm still learning, obviously, about blended learning and all the different types of ways, but I think trying to input some sort of that in the classrooms would help with the behaviors, and it would help them get excited. And if we could get parents involved that would want to help their students do this online learning and make them more excited, then we wouldn't quite have so many behavior problems, and we can get back to the learning. Because ultimately, if kids are going to be angry and upset all the time, then they're not going to get much learning done. I can see it in my own room when kiddos are angry about something, and half the time my kids weren't even mad at me. They were mad about something that happened outside of the classroom or maybe somebody in the room, but they're just angry, and they hold on to that anger and they just wouldn't let it go. And it's like the time goes on and they just miss the whole reading chunk because they're so mad about something. So just trying to figure out a better system here when we are trying to work through the steps that's supposed to help these kids calm down. It's not working, and it's not helping them let go of their anger. So I really do think that my school needs a new behavior plan in place. And again, I don't want to sound negative towards my administration or anything like that, because I know we're all trying to follow the steps to help, but I just think something needs to be done to help these kids, to help them be happier and not quite so angry all the time, and be respectful to their teachers, because it's sad to see these kids that just talk the way they do and just don't behave. It's pretty heartbreaking to watch your school kind of slowly over time get worse with the behavior. So in a perfect world, I would love to have a heavyweight team that could come out and help and turn it around, but for the time being, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing and hoping that I can change their behaviors and make them happier. But yeah, so that would be my rallying cry, is getting help adjusting students' attitudes and their behaviors. Thank you.